The Jewish people had read of a rescue coming to free them, a Messiah who would arrive and be one with them. It was foretold that he would come through the ancestry of Abraham, proclaimed by the prophet Micah to be born in Bethlehem. They knew about Daniel's prophecy about the restoration of Jerusalem. They had seen Isaiah cry out about the Son of God coming to them. So for them, it was anticipation. This groaning was growing, generation after generation. They knew it'd be holy, no matter the situation. And so they longed for him. They yearned for him. They waited for him on the edge of their seats, on the edge of where excitement and containment meet. They waited. Like a child watches out the window for their father to return from work, they waited. Like a groom stares at the double doors at the back of the church, they waited. And in their waiting, they hoped. Hope that was fully pledged to a God they had not seen, to a God who had promised them a king who would reign over the enemy, who would reign over Satan's tyranny. So they waited. Centuries of expectations with the various combinations of different schools of thought. Some people expecting a political king who would rise to the throne through the wars that he fought, while others expecting a priest who would restore peace through the penetration of the Pharisees' facade. Yet the divine had a different plan. He chose a baby, 100% God, 100% man. And so it was that he was called Emmanuel, meaning God with us. Imagine what life must have been like for Mary before Jesus came along. She was a girl who was just about to be getting married. Here she is, a young, beautiful lady, your entire life in front of you, full of hopes, dreams, and ambitions. Her fairy tale dreams of a romantic marriage finally about to come through at last. Her fiancé Joseph, a carpenter, strong, hardworking, loyal, was about to become a husband for life. This was true love. Everything was going as planned for Mary. That is until the day the angel showed up. Now, looking back, we would think, what a privilege. But imagine how she must have felt, scared. She was to bear a child as a virgin. Do you know what this would mean to Mary's life? What would people think? It's a miracle baby of divine conception? No. From now on, Mary's label was that of an unwed, pregnant, young woman in an ancient Israel. It was scandalous. She could have been stoned, subjected to the whispers she'd hear under people's breath when she walked into the room. Constant judgment from everyone she knew. Any hope for a good reputation now completely lost. And what about Joseph? How in the world was he going to understand? Already shamed and heartbroken by the situation itself, was his continued faithfulness even an option? I'm sure that more than once she thought, maybe I'll just run away, somewhere far, far away. And don't forget the morning sickness, the pains of childbearing. Then there was the loneliness. How misunderstood she must have felt. Any dream she had of a fairy tale marriage, a picture-perfect family, seemed as unlikely as a virgin birth. What a mess. So where is God when our hopes are dashed and our dreams are shattered, and life seems to be unraveled at the seams? Where is God that moment?
My name's Tim.
And I'm Juana.
We've been married for 5.5 years. We started praying about having kids about 6 months after we got married. About a year and a half after that was when we started getting a little concerned. Nothing was happening, and so we decided to go and see a doctor, see if anything was wrong. Unfortunately, the doctor came back and told us that it would be very difficult for us to have children on our own. So there were some things that they recommended, some things to look into. At the time, we were confused. We didn't know exactly what we should do. So we started asking for advice, started asking for prayer, because it was just a very confusing time in our life. We thought that God really wanted us to have kids, and having a doctor tell us that we couldn't have kids or it'd be very difficult for us to have kids was just a confusing thing to us. So after the doctor told us that it would be difficult for us to have children, Juan and I would talk and just pray with each other, that God would really give us wisdom to know what we should do. I mean, our faith was still strong. We still believed that God had a plan for us. We just didn't know exactly what that plan was. I was reminded of a verse that really impacted me a lot when I was in college, Psalm 27:14, where it says to wait on the Lord, be of good courage, He'll strengthen your heart, and just to wait on the Lord. So that was part of our prayer, was just to trust that God knew exactly what He was doing. It didn't seem to be the plan that we thought that He was going to have for our life, but we were ready to accept whatever plan that was, whether we would go through with the treatment and maybe have kids, or if we found out that we were never going to have kids of our own. That was something that was entirely in God's hands, and we were going to leave it there. But it was really encouraging to know that people were praying for us, our connection group was praying for us, our family was praying for us, and knowing that God had some plan for us. We weren't sure exactly what it was, but we were just going to wait on Him and see how He would answer.
Where is God when hopes are dashed and dreams are shattered? For Mary, He was there at the peace giving, our comfort in the midst of our fears. He was there as joy, providing deep fulfillment in the midst of extremely difficult circumstances. And He was there most vividly as the baby that she held in her arms, who would one day become the Savior of all humanity. So where is God when hopes are dashed and dreams are shattered? He is in the broken mess. He is in the shattered pieces, working all things together for good. Where is He, you say? He is there with us in the midst of our pain. He is there with us in the midst of our suffering. He is there with us in the darkest nights and in the lowest valleys. Because He is Emmanuel, He is God with us. The next group of people we encounter are found in the hill country outside of Bethlehem. Shepherds. Apart from being a tax collector or prostitute, shepherding was pretty much the lowest occupation you could have. Their clothes were dirty from tending their animals, their bodies unkempt from their time in the wilderness. These were the rejects and outcasts of society, nobody important among them. No future ruler, politicians, or king, just ordinary everyday shepherds. Nothing special ever happened around them. No ceremonies to recognize their work, no plaques to honor their commitments, no riches to commemorate their labor, no hopes or dreams or anything better. This seems to be their lot in life. So, where is God when life is mundane and ordinary? Where is God when you're lonely and feel like the outsider, the outcast, the one that nobody cares about? Where is God when you find yourself invisible nearly to everyone around you?
I'm Kalen.
And I'm Margarita.
I was born and raised in Fresno. My dad was a construction worker and worked in that field, and my mom worked in a public school as kind of a cook, baker position there. Growing up, my parents started going to church when I was 6 years old. Pretty much spent a lot of my youth in church and, having youth group activities, things of that nature. Pretty sheltered by my folks. They were pretty particular about who I was allowed to hang out with. But yet there was still because I worked during high school, I kind of developed friends at my job that maybe didn't have the same upbringing as me. And so it kind of developed a curiosity in my heart to, what's this, partying thing about? What does it feel like? All those things. And so little by little, I started making some wrong decisions. And so the devil really used those mistakes to get me in a place where I slowly but surely digressed into a drug-filled, party-filled, alcohol-filled life. And so I started taking a lot of prescription medications for pain. I had gotten in a car accident, so they had given me some pain meds. And then eventually those ran out, and I found out I was addicted. I needed more to be okay. One night I was sitting behind a dumpster over behind the Boston Market on Bullard and Blackstone, and I was trying to get high, but it was raining, and I couldn't even get my lighter to light, and I was so frustrated. I just remember looking up into the sky and asking God, is there anything else for me? I remember him saying to me, I love you, and I have something a lot better for you than this. And I can remember hearing that clearly from him, and I didn't really understand what that was, but I knew I wanted it. I knew that I was at a place where nobody wanted me. I had made so many poor choices that it was just, I feel like I had lost it all. I knew if I called my best friend that he would still care, and he would have something to say about the situation. So I called him, and he, in about 30 minutes, met me at a McDonald's nearby, and we sat there and talked about what it was I was going to do at that point, and we decided that it'd be a good idea for me to go to rehab. And literally within 24 hours, I was on a plane, and we were headed to Rockford, Illinois. And I spent about 2 years out there, actually. I graduated from the program, and I've put myself and my family and even my wife at times through a lot of pain and hardships. But even through all of those things, I've been able to lean on God and been able to get involved even with other people to counsel me through these hard things, because I don't know what to do. But just staying connected to the church and deciding that I'm not just going to come, I'm going to try my best to find a small area to serve in. That's allowed me to even see God working.
We've been married almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in February. And throughout that time, we've had difficult patches that we've gone through. And I just know that the only reason we are where we are today in our marriage is because of God. Because I know that, especially during those rough times, I learned little by little to just trust God. And because there were times where I felt, alone, or I felt like, is my husband ever gonna get better with, his struggles I had? And so I just learned to just trust in him and remember that he was with me even when I felt like nobody else was.
To see God using me in little ways, it's like I never thought that would happen ever, And so to see him be able to use me, somebody that, literally I should be in jail, I should be dead. But God chose, even in all my mistakes and all of the bad things that I've done, that he was going to keep me safe, and that he loved me, and that he watched over me, and that he had a plan for me.
Where is God when we feel lonely and lost? Where is God when we feel like an outcast, unlovable, undeserving, and utterly inadequate. For the shepherd, he was there for them, making his presence known when they felt like no one even cared. He was there for them on that cold winter night, ushering in a celebration of joy. And he was there most distinctly as the baby laying in a manger, come to take away the sins of the world. So where is God when we feel lonely and lost? Where is God when we feel like the outcast? He is there in the loneliness, giving us his presence. He is there in the pain, providing us his comfort. He is there promising to never leave us or forsake us. You say, where is God? He is there with his arms wide open in love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Why? Because he is who he is. He is Emmanuel, God with us. This third group, the wise men, these were the noblest of the noble, the elite of society, admired by their countrymen, sought after by kings, wealthy, knowledgeable. Their wisdom was unmatched. These guys were the epitome of success. They had fortunes, they had fame. Yet here they were trekking across miles of uncharted desert on camelback, following one faint and distant star. Why? In the midst of everything they had, their souls were still searching for more. Riches hadn't satiated the longing. Fame hadn't quenched the thirst. There was still a quiet yearning in their souls that told them there was something more to life than what they were currently experiencing. So where is God when you already have everything the world has to offer, but you are still not satisfied? Where is God when there is still an emptiness in your soul that craves to be filled? Where is God when you find yourself in that place?
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Stephanie.
And I grew up in northern Michigan, way up north in the cold. Stephanie really is a southern girl, grew up in Georgia, Alabama area. We really met in Bible college back in the 90s, and those were great years. We fell in love, got married right out of Bible college, and we just went right into the ministry. I was a youth pastor for the first 5 years after we got married. Just had a lot of fun. God grew us in many ways. He has given us 4 children. They're almost all teenagers now. In 2013, around 2013, 2014, God began doing some, at the time it seemed very, very strange things in my heart. And they weren't strange things. They were just a little unknown to me at the time, but he really began to reveal himself to me in some ways that I had not seen him before. Some of the realities that emerged from those truths just really shook my world in such a way that I just knew that God was about to do something really big in my life. Stephanie began to see some of those changes in me, in my thinking and my actions, and she was a little unsure for a little while, but God really began doing similar work in her life, and it just came to the point where we knew that God was not only changing us on the inside, but really was changing our desires. And we knew that we knew there was a change of location that was on the horizon, and didn't really know where it was. To be honest, Fresno, California was at the end of our list, and so we didn't have a lot of options. We had a couple that we were tossing around, and just wanted to see where God would lead. And on a spiritual level, God just made it very clear to us that Ambassador Baptist was really the spiritual oasis that he was leading us to. And so we came out and visited, and just fell in love with the place, and fell in love with the people. And so God moved us out here just a few months after that. And so we needed God through each of those circumstances, and we needed him to be with us. And it was, we knew that he was, but sometimes in the midst of it, it's like, God, I need you now, you know? And sometimes in the middle of a circumstance, when it's painful, it's, you know, it's a little more difficult to see, but usually it's in those moments that God really shines the brightest. And when we are at our moments of brokenness, He proves Himself strong and faithful. And so, just as everyday, ordinary people, we go through things in our lives. We go through things with our families. We go through things with our jobs and with our other relationships. And it's just even just in the routine difficulties that come along with being a citizen on planet Earth, we know that God is with us, and those realities just they make it to where we can not only survive every day, but we can thrive, and we can know that God is real. He lives in me by His Spirit, and it's going to be okay. He's with us, and that's a beautiful thing.
For the wise men, God was there for them, revealing Himself in the prophecies. He was there for them as a star, guiding them in their secret pursuits. He was there waiting for them the moment their journey was complete. Where is God when our soul longs for more and our heart craves something deeper? He is right there in the searching. He is right there in the questioning. He is right there in the wondering, promising to satisfy so that you will never thirst again. You say, where is God? When everything you have is not enough, and everything you thought you wanted leads you wanting more, He is there. He is available. He is Emmanuel, God with us.